Hello YouTube, here's the start of my next diorama. As I mentioned in my last video, which was the Hillside Scenic, I want to start doing a town scene. So I've got the Metcalfe coaching in, which I'll come to in a minute. Got a Jubilee clock tower by Hornby, which I should be putting just in the middle there with grass etc. around it. And I've got the GWR girder bridge. So what's going to happen is obviously the train's going to come across the top. Nice busy highway scene, built in with the coaching in pub. I'm going to have some lights. I've already put some lights in the coaching in, and just have a go and see how it comes out. I'm going to be using, I think, some kind of matchstick system for the path. I know Everard Junction uses that. Never actually seen a video on how to do it, so it's sort of guesswork really. I think I'm just going to put one either side and fill it up with polyfiller. I don't know whether you put any in the middle, so I'm going to try just doing one either side. There's going to be a hillside just coming down there, and I think it's going to be pretty good. So with regards to the Metcalfe kit, this is the first kit that I've actually built, and I think it's come up really well. I mean, this cost £7. And considering how it's come up, I think it's fantastic. It's really detailed. As you can see if you get down close. I've done a little bit of weathering on there. The way I did that was just get a charcoal pencil, rub it on some sandpaper, get it on your finger, and just rub it basically. For a little bit more smudging, you can wet your finger, but it's a really cheap and quick way of doing the weathering, and I think it looks alright. I've put some lights in there as well, which I'll show you later on in the video. I've put a little man, I'll cut out a Hornby man, you can't see it, and put him in there looking out the window, but when the light comes through, that all shines. But I'm really impressed with the Metcalfe kits, and I shall do them throughout my whole layout now. I was a little bit iffy. I thought, well, is it the cheaper option? Is it the quick option? You know, is scaled down and ready built stuff the way to go? But I think once I've saw this, I really like it. I mean, it is so detailed, and you've got curtains and stuff you can put in the kit. I didn't bother in this one, so you can see through. But I knew full well this is going to be used on a diorama board. So the next thing, this is an old bit of board, so I've got some holes to fill. And build up the track bed, just using basic wood pieces, and carry on from there. So all the blocks of wood are now in place, and all I've done is smeared with a spatula blade some ready mixed polyfiller over the roads, because I don't want that to obviously have a wood grain effect on it, and then I'm going to rub that down and weather it as we go. And the holes that I said about are going to play to my advantage, I think, because they're going to look like repaired roads as we go. So I'm going to leave this to dry, rub it nice and flat, and then I'm going to start putting on the curbstones using the match. So far, I've got the curbstones down. I've actually really enjoyed doing them. You actually feel like you're really building part of the scene. Really easy to do. I've spaced it out. I've done no measurements. I've done it by putting the cars side by side and just imagining real life really, with a white line down the middle. I'm going to have grass in the area there. Made an entrance there. This is the first coat of polyfiller. I think I'm going to do it in 2 stages rather than try and do it flat on the first time. So I'm going to leave that to dry and then just come over and touch that. I've only just laid these, so I'm not going to mess around with them yet. Gravel front for the pub. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. I wanted to try and get away from straight lines, so I've made the road with a bit of a curve on it. Yeah, so far so good. So now I've finished putting the what I think could be the last coat of filler on the paths. I'll put the wood in either side for the tracks to go on. So that's going to be up like that. obviously with the hillside coming down. And with this particular diorama, as opposed to my other one, I kept repeating myself in the other one saying if it was the layout it would be different, which was true to a certain extent. You know, I'll do it different this way, different that way. Well, as this is my second one, I want to try and do this a little bit more as I would in the real layout. So I've put cork down, you know, I've tried to do everything a little bit more as I would as if it was for real. I'm interested with this pathway system, never having done it before, how the paint's going to cover up the curbstone, or whether it's just going to look like polyfiller and matchstick. So that'll be quite interesting to find out. But it's all looking good, and it's surprising the amount of ideas you get as you start modelling. Like, to start with, I was just going to have this as green inside, but then when I put that in, I thought, well, there's a door there, so why not put the concrete in? And what I'm thinking I'm going to have is grass, and then put some sort of neat flower display in there. I've got some purple scatter, which is like flowers, so I'm going to be putting that in there, maybe in a regimented design, as if it's being looked after by the local council. But yeah, we'll see what happens on the next bit. So I've waited for everything to dry, given everything a really good rub down, lovely and smooth, but still with enough sort of character in the pavement, if you like. We don't want it all pristine. There's a little bit down here which I've just put an extra bit of filler in, so I'm just going to wait for that to dry, and then I think that's pretty much it for preparation. And I'll get on with doing the first coat on the pavement of obviously some kind of grey, and then move on to the floor, the road, some kind of black wash, black and grey wash. While that's waiting to dry, I'll just show you a couple of things I brought today from 10 Commandments, or cast in stone. So we've got a Gatso speed camera. It's like a metal based kit you put together. So I'm going to put that on here. I'm going to have that probably down there just below the bridge, somewhere there. Got some work signs. Comes with sort of a brass template for you to put different signs on and fold it round. I don't remember ordering this, but I must have done. Temporary traffic light, but it looks really bitty to put together, so I'm not overly excited about that. The thing that I am pleased with getting is this chain link fencing, which has got all the bits in it, and the wire and the mesh, which isn't cut down to size. I'm a bit disappointed in that, because it can only really be one size, because the brackets are one size. So I'm a bit disappointed they didn't cut that down. But it says it makes 3 foot, 1 metre of chain link fence. It was 12 quid, so that's enough money. It wants to make 3 foot. But I'm really pleased with that. That I'm going to put round the hill, because obviously people wouldn't just be allowed to walk on the hillside or the bank. And some road markings I got, which are all obviously going to help. I didn't know whether to paint it, so I think I'll start with doing stickers and see how they come out. That's the idea of doing a diorama test board, to test products, test yourself, and see how it all comes up. So I'll carry on once that bit's dry, and we'll see how it all goes. So I've just finished putting in the banks for the hill piece. I want it to be fairly steep, and what I use to fix that down is like a staple gun, primarily designed for attaching network cable, computer network cable, to a wall. So obviously you've got that bit there, and as you push it in, it basically puts a white staple in. I don't know if you can see them. But then I'll just basically hammer the rest home. Most of them go right in. It does flatten them down a little bit, but at least it gets both sides of the metal. And what I've done is, I mean, not everyone's going to have one of them staple guns, so I try to think of how I'd do it if I didn't have one. And I just got some tacks and tacked it in halfway and then knocked it over on its side. The only thing I didn't like about it was I had to really bash the board to hammer them in, whereas the staple gun, you know, you're not touching any of the scenic area. But people must attach it and don't have staple guns, so I presume that's how it's done. You can buy little staples that you hammer in, but again, you're going to be hammering all your board and your scenic area, so I do like the staple gun, which I got from work. So I think this bit's dry now, so I'm going to rub that down. And I think actually next, I did say that I was going to paint, but obviously before I've got to put the plaster cloth on, so I'll do that. So now I've put the hills in using the plaster cloth method. I've tried to put a few little contours in myself, but that looks so good now, but when there's dirt and grass and weeds and shrubbery on there, it's going to look good. With the security fencing around them, it's going to be pretty good. It took me literally about 5-10 minutes to lay that once the chicken wire was in place. So I'm going to give everything a wipe and a final check, then I'll do the paths.